Welcome to Barre, first of all. Sorry for the slight delay there. Your setup is this chair. The reason why I mentioned four-legged chairs, I hope nobody grabs a chair with like wheels underneath. That would be really hard for Barre. And then we have our yoga mat. All right, and then you can play music at your place. Anything like a rhythm, or it can be nice and easy, new age stuff. Really, whatever floats your boat. So for Barre, everything okay? Oh, really? Gosh, Neha, you're talented. All right, so you can also use a table and anything that's nearby. But I'm going to be moving my chair side to side so I can always face you guys. We're going to start with our warm-up, and I'll talk a little bit more about Barre as we do our warm-up. First position, this is a class based on Pilates, but also based on the ballet format. So first position, heels together, toes apart. We're going to reach one arm up and then side bend over, feeling that stretch here. Come back to neutral and then reach up and then over. Good. So take your time with this. We're not moving to any music. We're not moving to the beats. I want you to wake up your body, get that full range of motion in your shoulders and also in the lateral parts of your body. I'm keeping my heels anchored to the ground as I stretch. So things you want to keep in mind. This isn't like Pilates where I'm going to talk about breathing a lot, but my hope is that you will be constantly breathing. Yeah, we're not going to hold our breath. You want to think about keeping the abdominals drawn in toward the spine so that there's always spine support and helps maintain that neutral. We're also going to keep our chest up and our shoulders down away from the ears, just again to maintain that good posture without tension in the neck. If the chair here is for our balance, so we're not going to ever yank on the chair, but just have some fingers lightly on there, especially when we're doing single leg movements. We're going to go into our plie here. So keeping the knees and toes aligned with each other up to the corners of the room. If you want to keep your arms down, relax your shoulders, you can. I'm going to work those shoulder muscles a little bit by just having the hands just below shoulder height with a roundness in the arm. So notice I can have my shoulder muscles engaged without tensing up in my neck. You definitely want to keep those shoulders down and away from the ears. This is not a deep plie. The knees are not shooting beyond my toes. My spine is vertical, neutral as much as possible. Okay, we're going to go into releve, so that just means coming onto our toes. And if you need to grab onto your chair for this part, by all means do so. I'm going to have my arms come up overhead just to change the position here. You can also have your arms up to the side if you want to get kind of a nice chest stretch. Your heels will come apart as you lift onto your toes, and then your heels will touch as you come back down to the floor. I'm squeezing my quadricep, leg nice and straight, and also thinking about bringing my inner thighs together. And then we're going to combine the two. So we go down into our plie, squeeze those inner thighs, tighten, and then come up. So we're in a very strong and tight position. If you want to try this without the chair, give it a try. Since we're not repeatedly doing releves, we're going into a squat. The balance might be a little easier. Also, it's good to just practice balance every once in a while. You can put your hands really close to the chair, and then it's there if you need it. I'm just giving some arm variations. You can do any arm variations you'd like. So pay attention to how your muscles feel. We're targeting our glutes, quads, calves, and ideally you don't want to feel it in the joints. So if that means not fully straightening your leg at any point or not going to a deeper bend, that's totally fine. Let's do one more here. Good. I'm going to have you take your feet a little wider. Maybe your heels are about shoulder distance apart. And again, those toes and knees are facing out to the corner. Try a little bit of a second position plie. Just kind of open up the hips a little bit more. But the knees aren't going to shoot past the toes, just as before. And then we're going to go up into a few releves, and then we're going to combine the two. We'll just do 8 of each. Let's do 8 releves here. Feels a little different. You might not be able to go as high when you're in a wider position. In fact, the wider our feet get, the harder it is to lift our heels. And let's combine the two. Down and up. You can even try this, keeping your arms up while you go into the plie. Give me 2 more. All right, good. So we're going to start some of our single leg movements. Anytime I lift my leg, it's going to be the outside leg, and you never have to lift to a specific height. Okay, we are getting into our hip flexors here. So remember that turnout, we're going to still be turned out. Now the standing leg is going to be slightly bent. So let's just kind of go into a very, very mini plie so that our knees, we can tell, are definitely not locked straight. And then we're going to take our outside leg, keep the turnout, the knees are bent, and I'm going to do a full sweep. So I'm keeping both knees a little bent. You can tell as I bring my leg back down that I'm not having my knees right next to each other. Good. If you really want to practice your balance, you can take your hands off the chair, but I would have it nearby since we are going to be pulsing and doing other movements where we keep the leg off the ground for a little while. Let's try to think about our abs too. Want the chest up, the abdominals braced. I'm just going to quickly turn to my side here. What you don't want to do is something like this, right? Where you're trying to lift the leg so high, you end up pushing the hips back and dropping the chest. It's all about how high can you lift the leg, working here the inner thighs, hip flexors, but while still keeping the chest in neutral and vertical. Good. We sometimes stop thinking about our standing leg, but our standing leg is also doing a lot of stabilizing, even though it's not moving at all. Okay, sorry, lost count here, but that's the main movement, and now we're going to lift the leg up and hold it there, and from here, straighten and pull it back in. Straighten and pull it back in. Your leg might start to lower a little bit. It's hard to hold it up there at that same height, but we're going to try the best we can. I'm still keeping that turnout. Give me 1 more and go back to the full. Yep. And the reason why is because we're still moving, but it allows our leg a little break. Anytime our leg is down, it's a nice little break. And after this, we're going to keep our leg lifted and pulse it. So this is active rest. And if you need to take a full rest, you can do that. You can stop and pause, check out the leg. Now hold it up. You don't need to straighten it. Keep it bent and emphasize the lift. Lift, lift, lift. Little pulses. Up, up, up with the turnout for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, 8 more of full range. Now we're starting to feel that fatigue. Standing legs also doing work. So the last combination is going to be bending of both legs and then straightening of both legs. But when we straighten, don't feel the need to lock either knees out, okay? If you want to lock a knee out, you can lock the leg that's lifted, but you don't want to lock the bending leg. So it looks like this. I'm going to bend a little bit more into my plie, lift here. I'm going to straighten and bend. So this looks like a single leg squat. It's very small, okay? Because we don't want this knee to shoot past the toes. Lifted leg is okay, because we're not standing on it. Good. straighten, bend. And if you feel like the leg's lowering, you can lift it up a little higher for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and are we ready for the other side? All right, grab some water if you need. Okay, here we are, turn out. Same thing, so now our standing leg, our stabilizing leg is moving, and our non-stabilizing leg is stabilizing. Okay, full range. Just keep thinking about turning out, or keep thinking about the inside of your leg, or the inside of your knee is trying to point up to the ceiling. We don't often walk or do many things in turnout, but this is a great way of targeting different muscles. If we are always walking forward, we tend to favor the quadriceps. So our quadriceps, a lot of ours are very developed. Do about 8 more. Just get the motion going on this side. Abdominals tight, chest lifted. I'm bringing the focus to the legs, which is why I'm not doing anything with the arms. If you want to do something with the arms, you can. But I don't want us to think about too many things. Especially we got to think about breathing and our vertical neutral spine. Okay, so let's lift the leg. Just the top leg. Bottom leg is soft, and we're going to straighten and bend. So straighten, pull it in. Still the turnout. Squeeze and bend with purpose, deliberate, slow, and control. Good. So let's do the full range. Lift and lower again. Take a break if you need. The break here when the leg is down. Feel free to skip a rep. All good. Okay, one more here, and this time it's going to pulse, but keeping the knees bent. So keep that inner thigh, inner knee up, up, up for 16. Or you can think about the inside arch of your foot going up. For 4, 3, 2, full range. So pulses is always partial range, very, very, very partial range. Doing 6 more of these, and then we're going to do our finale move, which is bending and straightening both legs. And if it doesn't feel comfortable for you to do like a single leg squat, then you can keep that bottom leg mostly straight and do either the first exercise we did, which is the straightening and bending, without the bottom leg involvement. All right, so I'm going to bend my knees a little bit more just so that I can straighten it a little bit more when I do my first lift. So both knees bent, and here we go. We're straighten and dip. 2, 3, 4. I think I did 16 on the other side. I actually forgot. Well, those are finales, so let's do 16. I apologize if I only did 8 on the other side and we feel terribly asymmetric. And last one. Okay. Ooh, shake it out. We're going to go back to the first side, just so we can keep changing our stabilizing, non-stabilizing leg. We're going to do a whole extension here. Hopefully you don't kick any furniture or things in your room. So I'm going to be a little further from my chair because I'm actually going to lean into my chair when I do my side leg lift or side arabesque, okay? So with this one, we are just going straight forward and keeping that neutral, so we want to be close to the chair. Just do a practice one and see, are you too close to the chair? Are you too far from the chair? All right, so we'll do our practice one. Extending of the leg to the side. Now notice my kneecaps and toes are facing you guys. So we're facing forward, right? And again, this is because we want to target the outer thighs. If you have your kneecaps facing upward, then you're going to be targeting your quads again. The tendency is that we want to have our knees up because we favor our quads so much. We're such a quad dominant society. So this is the movement. And then from here, okay, we're gonna, without moving the rest of our body, imagine you're sandwiched flat between two panes of glass. But this one leg is gonna kick through the front glass, but not because you lean back. Okay, we're gonna keep our body really still. And then it's gonna come back to neutral in between the glass, and then it's gonna kick through the back pane of the glass. So there's a lot of stability right here because nothing is moving other than this leg. Standing leg is slightly bent. All right, now you know the exercise. All right, here we go. First, the lift. Every lift to about hip height or lower. Figure out what works for you. Focuses on maintaining the rotation so that the kneecaps are always facing forward, not up to the ceiling. If your foot's cramping for any reason, you can do this with your foot flex. And in fact, it's kind of nice to do it with the foot flex. You get a little calf stretch, but it's very obvious that your foot's parallel. You can tell when your toes are pointing either to the ceiling or they're pointing forward. Standing leg slightly bent still. Good. I'm gonna point my toes again. So this is our full range. If I'm doing the parallel movements and you want to go back to this, you can do that. All right, I think that was about 16. So lift that leg to where, whatever height you think you can maintain. All right, we're trying to maintain the same heights. And we bring it forward. Back to neutral. Behind, squeeze your butt. Leg is straight. Soft knees on the standing leg. Forward. And back. You know what's gonna cramp before the moving leg? The standing leg. I already feel it. Squeeze the butt. Hip flexor, you can touch it right here, you can feel it. And butts. I'm gonna do 8 forward and back. We have a couple more, but if you're really starting to feel in that standing leg, feel free to start taking your rest. Last one. Okay. Whew. Time to switch sides. Yeah, we're gonna switch sides right away. This is pretty intense because we have the legs far from each other. All right, this is kind of our normal walking motion, so it's nothing too foreign. I can't imagine you guys being in this position on a regular basis. So because of how foreign it feels to our body, our muscles that aren't used to being used, they might cramp up and seize up a little bit. Okay, gotta move a little further here. Okay, so first, the leg lift. There's a slight lean of your torso. That's to give your leg range of motion. But once I have that torso tilt set, I'm not constantly moving my torso. It's just set. And we have our hand lightly on the chair, not doing the death grip. Abs engaged, chest up as much as you can make it. About 8 more here. Maybe do 8 with the toes pointed if you have your foot flexed. This is about finding the full range of motion of our hips. Good. If I'm ever moving too fast for you, don't worry about what I'm doing. Focus on your own tempo. This is why numbers aren't a huge deal, because we might not all be moving at exactly the same pace. Okay, so let's hold that leg up there. Find that plane of glass. Imagine you kick through the front plane, return behind it, kick through the back pane of glass. Speaking of pain, there's some glute pain. No, just kidding, it's glute strength. Standing knee, stay soft. Sometimes when we don't think about it, it'll just lock itself out. I'm trying my best to keep my leg at the same height. Sort of this imaginary parallel line I've drawn across. And with my abs nice and engaged, you can ensure that my torso doesn't move. Do a couple more on each side. Again, listen to your body. Standing leg is doing a lot of work too. You should feel your butt squeeze when you go back. That's what causes the hip extension. It's not because you use momentum and just, kind of kicked your leg back there. You actually are squeezing the butt, which extends the hip. It's a very purposeful movement. Okay, and that's finished. Good. All right, gonna go back to the first side. You thought we were done with that, right? I'm sorry if you want to be done with it. Remember, this class is optional. If you want to do some squats and plays, go right ahead. You can do it. So we're going to add the arms. I purposely did not put any arms in it the first time. I really want you to focus on the legs. And now we're going to add the arms. And if you feel like the arms are really confusing or just like so much to think about, take away the arms, put it right back on your hip. Okay? Set up here. So what makes the arms a little challenging is that we're going to swing it in opposite. So, sorry, let's start here. So when my leg goes forward, I'm actually going to swing my arm back. Yep. And it kind of feels nice. It's like a counterbalance. And then we bring our arm forward. The main focus is on the legs. I don't want the focus to be about the arms because it's not about the arm strengthening. It's about more of a coordination. Oops, I got to soften my standing leg. So there's two ways of doing the arms. One is just forward and back, like I'm doing right now. The other one kind of goes a little more overhead, but it's still going forward and back. It's just, it takes a different path. So more of a overhead path, but it's still going forward and back. It's still going opposite. Now, this is a little more confusing, right? Because we have one leg sweeping forward and back in this parallel motion, and now this is kind of a different pathway. It's like more of a vertical path. So I find that definitely to be a little more challenging coordination-wise. So here. And you might find this easier than without, because now we have sort of this counterbalance going. Still trying to keep that leg the same height. Squeeze the butt. So this feels very good, right? It's kind of like a normal arabesque almost. And then this feels like, oh, so much balance in arms, abs. All right. Of course, you know I've completely lost count. So let's do 2 more. Forward and back. Okay. Whew. Really starting to sweat here. Okay, so on our second leg, I'm gonna really focus on counting to 16. But the reason why I always lose count is because I start to really cue on the muscles, because that is actually the most important part. You get to a point where you really get fatigued, then do a couple more, and that's the important part, is what your muscles feel. If you do 50 of these and don't feel a thing, then you really haven't done any good quality movements. And if you do 5 really great ones, that's better than doing 50 poor ones. But enough talking here. All right, we're gonna bring our leg forward first. My body is still not moving. My arm, my shoulders, my leg and my hip socket joint, they could all move because of the range of motion within that joint. There's no reason my torso needs to change out of neutral at any point during this workout, during this movement pattern. And if you want to try that overhead version, try a couple times. Don't feel obligated to. We're moving slowly with purpose. I bring it up and over. I bring my arms up and behind. I think there's about 8 there. I'm a little close to my chair. I'm not going to adjust right now. About 8 more, or any number that is challenging to you. Standing leg still soft, right? Slight bend in that knee. There's really a lot to think about. All Our abs are engaged, our chest is up, and we're really trying not to move our torso, even as we're moving all those limbs around it. About 4 more. I don't know if I'm going to make it. 3 more. Where are your kneecaps and toes facing? They should still be facing forward. We want that. We want to target the outer thighs. Last one here. Okay, looking good. All right, so that's it for our lower body sequence. Actually, if you still have your chair, you can sit on it and do a quick stretch. Oh, geez. So we're gonna do a little bit of upper body sequence, and then you don't need to do it with dumbbells or beams or anything. You can have no weight in your hands. So the deeper the stretch is the chest lower to your legs. Great stretch to do if you're sitting at your desk. I don't know if I sit like this for a long time. That's not bad for a little bit. All right. Guys are like, where are Finn's famous beans? I'm not gonna use beans today. I'm just gonna use my arms. So a lot of times, the motion of thinking of where the resistance is going is more important than however much weight you're holding. Sometimes if we are holding weights and we're not focusing on the muscles correctly, we just end up straining secondary or muscles that are helping us compensate. So I'm going to show you from the side first. We're going to be in our mini squats. Yes, right back into more legs, yeah. So I'm going to pull those elbows up as high as we can, squeezing the shoulder blades together, and then I'm going to reach my arms straight. My palms are facing in. As I pull back in, I'm going to think about lifting my elbows again and then return. So squeeze the shoulder blades. I'm still squeezing my shoulder blades. I straighten my arms, reaching as high as I can. When I bend my elbows, I'm going to emphasize the lift of the shoulders, of the elbows again. But most likely, if I've done a really good job of squeezing the shoulder blades, I don't really need to lift my elbows any higher because it's already at its highest. So if you're holding on to little dumbbells, I wouldn't recommend anything higher than 3 pounds. You're holding onto it lightly, and you would hold on to the dumbbells as you reach back. Good. You never want to grip tight fists or hold dumbbells tightly, because then it just creates this extra tension in your forearms and doesn't necessarily target the muscle that you're actually targeting. So this is nice sometimes to do this without holding anything, and you can really think about the muscles. Notice my spine is in neutral. It's tilted at 45 degrees. My feet are hip distance apart in parallel. So here's the front view here. Good. So you can't see my spine, but you can now see my foot stand. So we're not going to be in turned out position anymore during this portion. Let's do some pulsing. Lift those elbows, straighten the arms, bend just a little bit, straighten again. Emphasize the straightening. Straighten, straighten. Again, you're only bending the elbows a little bit so you can straighten it again. And it's not a drop. It's not a drop. My elbows stay really high. I'm still squeezing my shoulder blades towards each other the whole time and pulsing on the triceps. Okay, keep that chest up. Head and neck align with the spine, which means my eye gaze is about 4 feet ahead of me. All right, you guys feel it yet? Whether you have weights or not, you should feel it. 8, 7, 6, 5. Make sure you're not standing up out of the squat. 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. I never really emphasize numbers. I mean, I do care about numbers only in the sense that we're more symmetrical from right and left side, but a lot of times, if you think about it, one side is stronger and more dominant than the other. So I end up always doing a few more reps on my strong side compared to my not strong side. If you would like to continue working your legs, we're going to go into a wide plie, but if not, keep your legs straight, and we're not going to, your legs will be resting because you're just standing, right? But if you want to go into a little bit more work, option to come into a wide plate. Don't worry about going too deep because we're pretty much done with the lower body portion. So here are our shoulders. My hands are facing forward, my palms are facing forward, my elbows are at 90 degrees, and targeting the shoulders. Pulse. Now we're not just lifting up and down. I want to think about reaching up and then squeezing my shoulder blades together. Yeah. So when I'm squeezing my shoulder blades together, you probably can't tell from this view. I'll turn here, is I'm actually pulling back a little bit like this. So I'm going up and back, up and back. Because with every lift, I almost sort of disengage my shoulders. This is an exaggeration because this is a major exaggeration. I'm basically slightly disengaging my shoulder blades and then I'm squeezing them back together. So it's a twofold motion. We're pulsing up and down, but also squeezing the shoulder blades more as I pull it down, pull the elbows down. So that means there's a little bit of not just rear deltoid engagement, but lats engagement. Okay, let's do the full range. And again, anytime your legs are tired, you just come out. And then when you want to go back into the legs, you can bend. It's going to be a little more challenging to raise the arms all the way up and then do that same pull down and squeeze. Pull down and squeeze. Inhale, exhale. But you can also exhale on the way up, inhale down. As long as you're breathing, I'm okay with when you're exhaling and when you're inhaling. Good. You still want that proud chest, abs braced, neutral spine. And again, whether or not you have weights, if you're holding weights, they're gently held in your fists. You should be feeling these shoulders. Good. Let's come out of our squats. Come back to neutral. Reach those arms out to the side. And little circles. I'm circling, how should I say, forward. I'm going up and forward. So my right arm is doing counterclockwise and my left is doing clockwise. This motion is circling, yes, but I'm still squeezing my shoulder blades together. I'm not elevating my shoulders. I'm not creating tension in my neck. My knees are soft. And I'm basically pulsing my arms. Yeah. Now let's turn. Shoulders are still working, but your palms are up now. And your thumbs are facing backwards. So I've changed the direction of my circling. I'm circling backwards. I'm going up and back, up, back, up, back. So that means I'm coming forward when I'm coming down. So your arms are about parallel to the floor. If in doubt, go a little lower. You don't want to go higher, okay? Got 8 more. This is something you can do sitting in a chair, as long as your posture is good, as long as your chest is up and your spine is vertical. Okay, relax. We're going to do some biceps. You have to imagine there's weight on your hands and emphasize the bending of those elbows. Good. Here, my elbows are right next to my rib cage and my shoulders. And they're right underneath my shoulders. I'm going to change it so that they're out in space. But once I have that set position, it's not going to move. So it's not like I'm doing this motion, right? Biceps are one of our stronger muscles, so unlike triceps, you might not feel this as much. We use this a lot when we're carrying groceries or carrying much of anything. It's all bicep dominated, like laundry baskets, things like that, books, anything we carry in the front of our body, it's all biceps. So our biceps are overused a lot more, or I should say just used a lot more than our triceps, which is why Triceps are always going to feel weaker than our biceps. Good. From here, we're going to keep our elbows bent. And then you can get your elbows a little closer to your shoulders. But this is internal and external rotation at the shoulder joints, but keeping an emphasis on the biceps. I'm just crisscrossing my hand alternately. So if your elbows are bent at 90 degrees, your biceps have to be engaged. There's no way that it's relaxed and your elbows are bent. The only way your biceps are relaxed is when your arms are straight. Internal, external, internal, external. We're going to go into some push-ups. If you happen to have dumbbells and don't prefer doing push-ups, you can do dumbbell chest presses. So we're going to do chest emphasized push-ups. So that means our hands are going to be wide. Tricep emphasized are close to the body. So I actually have my hands wider than my mat. So that means they're on the floor. If you want your hands on the mats, you can try to position yourself slightly different. But if you're doing it on your knees, I think it's more important that your knees are on the mat than your hands. So if you had to pick between one. Couple options. Knee push-ups, kneeling push-ups. My chest hits the line between my thumbs if I were to go all the way down. If I'm doing knee push-ups, I'm going to walk my hands forward, shift forward until I'm a straight line from shoulders, hips, knees, and again, aim my chest for that same imaginary line between my two thumbs. If you're doing it on your toes, you straighten those knees, aim for a straight line from shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles, and your chest aims for that straight line. So if you've already been doing push-ups, keep going. Inhale on the way down, exhale on the way up. Decide how many you want to do. I'm going to challenge you to do 16, which is kind of our general number for anything. But it doesn't mean you have to do all 16 on your toes or on your knees. So I could do 8 on my toes. I'm going to do maybe 8 more on my knees. And maybe I'll do my last couple with my knees pulled in underneath my hips and finish out there. Good, still breathing. All right, now we're going to finish with some abdominal work, and then that will be our bar class for today. If you ever had a goal of doing 50 push-ups, I don't know if that's anyone's goals. The best way to start there is just to get volume of push-ups. So if that means doing, 2 on your toes and as many as you can on your knees, that's good, because it's training your body to do that volume. And then you pause because you're tired, and then you do more until you do a total of 50. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's broken down to 10 sets of 5, because if you don't get used to your body trying 50 push-ups, it's never going to get there. Now, it doesn't mean you have to do that on the first day. So maybe your first day, if you've never done push-ups, you start with 10. Okay, here's your basic crunch. You start with 10 push-ups. Then maybe you go to 20. But again, people get so focused on like, oh, I'm not doing all of it on my toes, so what's the point of doing it? No, there's a lot of point in doing it. There's a lot of point in doing the repetitions. Right? You think someone who ran a marathon started out by running 26.2 miles? No, they started by walking around the block probably. Okay. Hands behind the head, supporting the neck. Then extend one leg. If you would like to lift it with me, you can do that. I'm going to do one knee bend, one straight leg, one knee. You don't need to touch the heel all the way to the floor. Shoulder blades go down. So slow and deliberate. This is not about going as fast as you can. Feel the contraction in your abs. All right, one more pair. on this side. So one more knee bend and one more straight leg. And keep in mind that we were crunching the whole time. So even though I'm counting just every other knee for 8s, we actually did a total of 16 crunches, not to mention all the warm-up crunches we did. Okay, same thing. I'm not rotating my body. I'm lifting both shoulder blades up, equal height. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Last pair. All right. Good. Roll yourself all the way up. Find that straight spine and come halfway down. So here we're focusing on, again, that spine mobility from neutral to roundness. If you'd like to add a single leg lift, I lift my front leg, lower back down, I lift my back leg. The front. The back. And add a little rotation here. So watch this. Bring my back arm to my front leg. Open. Whoa, almost fell. And try with the back. Good. One more time on each. So I rock back, straighten the leg, grab the opposites. Kind of anchors me a little bit. And then last time. Yeah, if you can come to your hands and knees. What's this computer update here? All right, so come on hands and knees and just a little spine work and stretch here. So we want to be in neutral spine with the wrists underneath our shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Extend the leg, front leg, back arm, opposites. Good. And just hold. We're going to do a tap down, keeping both legs and arms straight, and then reset to that neutral. Hold. Find your balance. Breathe. Draw your belly up and in towards your spine. Touch down. Again, lengthening those limbs. Last time, hold. It's just to sort of test your spine balance, working the muscles around the spine, adding some movements. Try the other side. Opposite legs, opposite leg and arm. Make sure you're stable, so you're holding stillness for about 3 to 5 seconds before you lower, gently touch the floor, and lift back up with only movement in the arm and leg. Keep breathing. Hold again for about 3 to 5 seconds. Make sure you have that balance. Good. And then one of my favorite stretches is my inner thigh stretch. Just reach a leg out to the side. Looks like this. If you wanted to do more of a torso twist and stretch, you can take the arm of the same leg and reach it under. This is a lot though, so I don't expect you to bring your shoulder all the way to the floor. But what happens is that you start to rotate away from your leg. You're going to feel a deeper stretch in that inner thigh and get a little bit of a rotation in those obliques. If you're quite flexible, you might be able to bring your shoulders all the way down to the floor, but please don't force it. All right, let's try the other side. Thank you all so much for joining me during your lunch break. So if you wanted to try that twist, you can feel the twist without taking your shoulder all the way to the floor. And it does intensify the inner thigh stretch, but you gotta stay supported right here. Good, thank you guys so much for joining me. If you wanna do a quick chest stretch, quick abdominal stretch. So a lot of the movements we did are done in reciprocation. So as we work the triceps, we stretched our biceps, so on and so forth. So feel free to do extra stretches if you need. If you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask.